In this generation, and the generation that's under me, which is Tierra Posey and Tia Carey, their whole motto is, if you can't beat them, shoot them. It's not if you can't beat them, join them. It ain't none of that. It's if you can't beat them, shoot them. What's poppin', y'all? It's your girl, B. Octavia. I seen a nigga do some shit like this, right? But he had a do-rag. I'm trying to see if this shit'll work. No, it's ugly. Let me see. Cause I understand what he was trying to do. He had a do-rag though. That's alright, ain't it? Nah, y'all gonna keep hearing the damn necklace, ain't y'all? If I stay still, nah, let me just stop playing. Let me stop playing. Okay, we are gathered here today to give the final update of Tierra Posey's murder case. We are going to go back in time. The murder of Tia Carey happened in January of 2020. That is what we will be talking about before we talk about the conclusion and what the justice system has finally decided on Tia Carey's murderer. Before we get into all of that, let me just say, in the present day, I am now 27 years old. It is 2024. Negativity will be blocked, this, that, and the fourth. Oh, yeah. I'm from DC, specifically Southeast. And this is something that, I took very personally. I took it personally not only because it happened in the city that I was born and raised in, but I took it personally because it wasn't much news coverage uh or YouTube channels covering Tia Carey or Tierra Posey. That was an issue for me because it's like it always is. Boom, when it happens, it's like this flood of news and then it just stops. And in this case, it stopped for years. Even though there were court proceedings, it stopped. And I was like, oh no, not on my watch. So shout out to dcwitnesses.org. I feel like that's the name. This website helped me a lot with not only getting updates on this case, but a lot of different cases that I cover on this channel. So without further ado, let's get into the video. All of these people, aside from the baby daddy, were fairly young when this happened. Tia Carey, 21, was a mother of two. Her youngest was just 2 months old at the time of her murder. And the whole situation went down at a gas station in Northeast, somewhere down that way. Tia Carey had just picked up her daughter from school. Her other daughter, I believe she was around 4 or 5, but really, really young. So she has both of her kids at this point. She spots one of her baby daddies at the gas station. Along with the baby daddy is the new girlfriend of said baby daddy. So Tia Carey having social media beef and stuff like that with the girlfriend, she goes over and she confronts her baby daddy first and then locks eyes with Tierra Posey. Boom. Tia Carey pops off a fight that Tierra Posey couldn't finish. And I say she couldn't finish it because she shot Tia Carey in the face in the midst of the fight. Now, footage from this fight came out and it was a big mess. It was other females involved. I don't know where they came from. You feel me? But as the story goes, Tierra Posey stays on the scene. Other people that witnessed it made sure that she stayed on the scene. Shout out to them. We need more of ya. These are stickers, so thought I just had to say that. After Tia Carey is shot, her baby daddy gets into the vehicle where Tia Carey's children are, and he drives off the scene before police gets there. He drives the children to Tia Carey's mother's house in a panic, and he doesn't necessarily say what happened. That bothered me for a while, that seeing the mother and everything and still didn't say that your daughter's been shot and it's not looking good. She did get notified soon after, but still. Of course, these things like trial, it takes this amount of time. But Tierra Posey was able to get released on an ankle monitor. She complained about that. She complained about being in a halfway house where she's monitored all the time. And, you know, her restrictions got less and less, which I didn't want to happen. Now, we are in 2024. And, you know, I already was getting a trickle of notifications, but they were ignorant people, okay? And they were not dignified of a response, but people were telling me a few weeks ago that Tierra Posey was getting acquitted, right? And somebody just the other day said it, and they said it in a very respectful way. They just said, update, Tierra Posey has been acquitted. And that is the final conclusion. But in trial, she had to clearly state that the only reason why she shot Tia Carey was because she was very scared of her. I'm satisfied with that. I'm satisfied with that. And a lot of people, you know, I feel like they thought that I was going to argue with them about it, but that's just like arguing with the whole judicial system as a whole. I don't have time for that. If that's what y'all say it is, that's what y'all say it is, but it gives me satisfaction to know that you said what I thought. Okay? Tierra Posey said and had to say just what I thought. In this generation, and the generation that's under me, which is Tierra Posey and Tia Carey, their whole motto is, if you can't beat them, shoot them. It's not if you can't beat them, join them. It ain't none of that. It's if you can't beat them, shoot them. And you couldn't beat her. You were losing. And it's a sucker thing to do, to shoot somebody in the midst of a fight. But I am a lot more mature than I was when I made that last video about giving an update, right? And I think that's why a lot of people came off like rah rah, is because I was very passionate about the fact that you should not be able at all to get away with something so sucker. Something so sucker as being in the midst of a fight and grabbing a gun. If you lose, you lose. And I personally would respect that better. But that's where I was coming from, and I still believe that. But at the same time, and we just saw this with Phat Geez situation. As we get older, we got to realize our actions can and will lead to our downfall. And it's going to hurt even more for our family to have to come to grips with that. It's going to be even more painful because, of course, you being up in heaven and being a guardian now to your family, you can see everything that's going on and it'll hurt you too. But Tia Carey's actions very well played into her downfall, and it's all about maintaining and controlling your emotions. Sometimes it really hurts. You might really start catching cramps and going through convulsions because you know that you have to restrain yourself, especially if you got your kids, especially, without a doubt. But what I want to know and what I'm going to find out is who gets charged with that gun. Who gets charged with that gun? Who gets charged with firing the unlawful? Maybe that goes into the acquittal. I don't know. But the baby daddy was wrapped up in this case just as much as Tierra Posey was. So I'll figure it out. Nobody else should handle anything like this. Nobody should have their kids with them, spot their BD, and just think about fighting. Just think about, getting into it and shit like that. You should never put your kids in a situation to be scared. Sometimes you can't help it. Kids get scared over the darndest things sometimes. But if you can help it, help it. Seriously. Because I pray for those kids. I pray that, they were at an age where they don't remember what happened. But, trauma has a way of putting an imprint on anybody's mind. Trauma has a way of affecting the brain and making you truly remember it for decades and decades to come. So I pray for those kids. It's a shame that she gets to, for lack of a better term, get away with murder. But just like the Phat Geez situation, it can and will be flipped into self-defense. And honestly, at the time where I was making my last update, I wasn't trying to hear that shit. I was not trying to hear that shit. I wasn't trying to hear nothing about no self-defense, nothing. Because I'm thinking about the principle. If you in a fight, be in the fight. If you lose and get your ass whooped, that is what it is. And, the police could have got called for the fight, and you could have clearly been a victim, and she would have went to jail for that. And that would have been, some justice right there. But you didn't leave it there. You didn't leave it there. But again, if it can be flipped into self-defense, it will. Carey has 2 and Tierra Posey has 1. Both females should have been thinking about their kids a lot more. And that's why, the rate of young teenagers basically having kids is high in DC specifically. And it needs not be, because if you're still thinking about relationships and this baby daddy or that, or this boyfriend or that ex-boyfriend, and you got kids or a kid, you're in the wrong mental capacity at this moment in time. And somebody should have really told you to snap out of it for the sake of your own life, but most importantly, your children's lives and you being there. 10, 20 years down the line, none of that shit is going to matter. And I had to, I had to keep telling myself that in my own situation, none of this shit is going to matter. It's not going to be means for me to get a good laugh out of, get a good cry out of, nothing. It's going to be in the past. It's not going to mean anything. So why take it like that now? Fuck it. Fuck it. The past is the past. It don't matter if it was a month ago, a few years ago. The past is the past. And it's harder for young females who are just coming up on being an adult to realize that. At that age, it was hard for me to realize that. But all you know is you don't want to go to jail. So I say all that to say it gives me satisfaction. I'm hoping that it gives the family some satisfaction that she had to say, I was fearing for my life. I was very, 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 very scared of her. And I felt I had no other option. Because that's what scaredy cats do. And honestly, as it goes with the baby daddies and all that, like, it just gets tired. At the end of the day, what these guys do, what these ninjas do is they drop one off in you and then they're on to the next one before you even have the child. It's what happens to a lot of young females. And we can't be willing to die for that, because once we die, everybody around us is going to say how much it wasn't worth it. How much you shouldn't have cared. How much you should have just let it go. And the victim's family is not going to want to hear that. If you lost your loved one in a circumstance like this, you're not going to want to hear that, even if and knowing it's the truth. It's sad that two young girls, two young babies, two young children have lost their mother. And now another young child has the opportunity to have her mom back or his mom back. And let's hope she makes better decisions. But it seems like a lot of people have the OJ effect, right? They get acquitted of a very serious crime only to years later fuck up again in the same way. So we'll see. I don't truly have hope in her future, but we'll see. And I'm talking about Tierra Posey, because the common denominators here is boy crazy, head on wrong, thinking about all of the wrong things and making excuses. And it worked in this scenario, ladies and gentlemen. It worked in this scenario. Just as Carey had and still has a lot to learn from all of this, so does Tierra Posey. And I hope she learns it. It's your girl, B. Octavia. I will see y'all in my next video. Again, all negativity, all hatred, all sideways talk will be thrown to the wayside. And have a good day.